Ho, 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 folks. I am the Mighty Plantain, and with Thanksgiving behind us, just one day behind us as a matter of fact, it is now the countdown to the Christmas season, and I am ready to hit up the Christmas beers. Winter beers, yes, but you know what? I usually start seeing them around a month to a month and a half before Christmas, so I associate them with Christmas. Hell, if you had my family, you'd want to be drunk during Christmas too. Just kidding, guys. I know none of you are watching this anyway, so I can say whatever I want, but no, they're not that bad. So we're looking at the Sam Adams Winter Classics again this year. And we got Boston Lager, Winter Lager, Old Fezziwig, Chocolate Bock, Oatmeal Stout, and Amber Bock. So we got a lot of really nice old favorites, and I don't think any of these are actually new. The Amber Bock is the only one that doesn't really ring a bell, but I think it's been in a variety pack or an individual release before, and they don't have it tagged as new on the box. I think the order we're going to go in, and I'm going to go from light to dark. Normally I put the higher IBUs towards the end, but these guys, honestly, the Boston Lager at 30 is the highest, and it's not overwhelmingly hoppy to the point where it would interfere with the taste of the others. So I'm going to go from light to dark with this. We're going to start with the Boston. I believe the Amber Bock would want to go next up. Then the Winter Lager, the Old Fezziwig, and I'm on the fence here. I remember the Chocolate Bock being a bit heavier and thicker than the Oatmeal Stout. So I think I'm going to go with the Oatmeal Stout ahead of the Chocolate Bock, just because those chocolate flavors I think are a little heavier than the oatmeal flavors. So we'll definitely be looking at that order. I might change my mind on the Chocolate Bock and the Oatmeal Stout. I'm kind of going back and forth on that, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to leave the Chocolate Bock on the end. All right, beat that dead horse. So we're going to get started with the Boston Lager first up. You may have noticed the nice festive Santa shirt. It's not quite a classic rendition of Santa. You want to find out a little bit more about this version of Santa, you'll want to hit up Asterios Kokonos on Facebook, Twitter. I think he's on a couple of other places. Oh, patreon.com/Asterios. Patreon, Patreon. And if you want to look up Asterios himself on Facebook or any other social media, it's ASteriosKokkonos. Pretty sure I got that right. I tried to memorize it right before the video. But yeah, check him out. He's a pretty funny guy, and this little rendition of Santa's got an interesting story behind him. Completely motivated by spite and a Herculean effort to accomplish a spiteful goal. So that's pretty funny. He's a pretty funny guy. Check him out. Like I said, patreon.com/Asterios is where you can really support this particular comedian, and he's worth it. Most of the time. Anyway, enough about that, and enough about everything else. Let's talk about the beer. This is the Sam Adams Boston Lager. It's got that lovely, lovely amber color to it. It's very effervescent. Well, not very, but quite effervescent compared to a lot of other beers out there. I got a really good head on this one. I'm really happy about that. It's clear, not cloudy, but it's got some nice darker color to it. You won't find that in most of your flagship beers from American labels. They're usually a bit paler than this. If you've seen any of my videos involving this beer before, you know why I'm going on and on about it. From that nice malty hoppy aroma, it is just, for me, a quintessential beer. Always a good decision. Delicious as always. For a flagship beer that goes up against things like Budweiser, Coors, Miller, it's just really well rounded. It's got more flavor, more body, and and just more to it. It's got more character. That's the word I'm looking for. More flavor, more body, and more character than most of your flagship beers that you're going to find out there. I use it as a yardstick to compare a lot of other beers to, because it just has that great combination of all the characteristics you want in a good beer right there. It's always a perfect 5 out of 5 for me. It even follows German purity law. Water, hops, malt, and yeast. That's the only 4 ingredients that go into this stuff. It's delicious. I'm going to finish this one up real quick. Again, it's a 5 out of 5 for me. We're going to move on to the winter lager, or I'm sorry, the amber Bock. Amber Bock's probably a little bit lighter than the winter lager. I'm hoping. If I'm wrong about that, well, I'm wrong. But like I said, I'm going to finish this one up, and then we'll move on to the amber Bock. And here we go, folks. Next beer, amber Bock. Now again, I'm not 100% sure that I haven't had this before, because it seems familiar and it's not listed as a new one. Malty caramel notes and a crisp finish, so I assume it's malty and caramelly. Yeah, that is a little darker than the Boston Lager, so far I'm on the right track with the lineup here. And again, the IBUs are lower. It's only 18 compared to the 30 in the Boston Lager, but again, at that level, I don't think they're enough to overwhelm the palate and interfere. But that is definitely a darker amber than the Boston Lager. It's a little less effervescent, harder to see through, but still clear, not cloudy. Not much coming up in the aroma on that. Maybe a slight hint of some toasted maltiness. At 18 IBUs, I'm not surprised I'm not getting any hop notes, because I'm pretty sure this isn't going to have a very hop-forward characteristic at all. That is pretty malty. It's got a very nice, and it is crisp in the finish. Huh, that's interesting. It's got the mouthfeel and the malty flavor of a heavier beer, but it's got this light introduction and a crisp finish that's reminiscent of a much lighter beer than it actually is. So it's definitely a Bock, and it's got that nice amber color and the heavy malty characteristic, but when you first sip it, it's like this light, refreshing coolness on the tongue, and then you get that nice, and the caramel notes are coming through a bit. There's a bit of sweetness there, but it's mostly a roasty bitterness, but not overwhelmingly so. But yeah, it starts out really light and refreshing on the tongue, and then it gets that malt characteristic kicks in, that really heavy malt character. Well, not really heavy, but comparatively heavy to what you were introduced to in the beer. And then this nice light, crisp finish. So it's got a different character. Not much else coming out in the flavor. And just for the fact that it's got that difference in character with that crisp finish and the light intro, I'm going to hit this with a 3.5 out of 5. I'm going to try to say this only once in this video. A 2.5 on a 1 to 5 scale is average, so a 3.5 does put this distinctly above average. And what's really putting this one up there is the fact that it's got that unexpected lightness and crispness in a beer that in the middle there is a nice heavier Bock, because there's not really anything else distinguishing this. There's not a lot of characteristics coming forward. It's a nice malty beer with some caramel notes and some roasted bitterness, but nothing really crazy or out of this world. It's really just the way the beer's behaving that's making it stand out for me. So I'm going to finish this one up And we're going to move on to the winter lager. Alright, next up is winter lager, one of my longtime favorites. A lager brewed with orange peel, cinnamon, and ginger. Now, it's a pretty decent heavy lager. It's got those holiday spices that really bring out the best in it. Oh, couldn't have done that better if I'd tried. Yeah, that's just slightly darker. Just slightly darker than that amber Bock. Maybe not. I don't know. Oh, yeah, it's more brown. It's way more brown, whereas the last one was more amber. It's got some hints of reddishness to it, but definitely darker. Even less effervescent. There's fewer bubbles coming up through. Looks like I got a decent head on that bad boy. Mostly getting a nice toasted maltiness. A little bit of cinnamon. Slight hint of that orange peel coming through. Mostly toastiness and orange peel. And I'm sorry, toastiness and cinnamon. Like I said, a little hint of the orange peel. Just a hint. It's got a nice heavy mouthfeel the second it hits you. It's got a nice warming sensation from those holiday spices. But a toastiness. Oh. Has just a good heavy mouthfeel, solid beer. I mean, it's not too heavy, but it's heavier than something you're used to. And just a combination of those holiday spices, the toasted malt, not much coming through in the hops. If anything, maybe a slight hint of citrus, but it's hard to tell if you're getting the orange peel or any kind of citrus note from the hops. But I don't think, yeah, it's a very low IBU, 22. So you're probably not getting any character of the hops at all. I'm guessing there's some in there, but one of the nice things about the winter lager is you get a nice warming sensation right through here. Not like a spicy heat or anything, not like a I'm drunk and I'm warm all over. Just this nice, slightly heavy mouthfeel beer, slowly settling down and just warming you up. This is something you could sit around and drink, pardon, on the coldest winter night. It's very comforting, very delicious, smooth, easy to drink, well rounded. It's got those holiday spices in it, the cinnamon, the orange peel, and what is it? Ginger. Pardon, I'm not getting very much of the ginger, but maybe that's where the heat comes from. I know that in overwhelming quantities, ginger can produce a nice warming sensation, but I don't know. I think in the quantities that would produce this kind of heat, it would actually be more forward in the flavor of the beer. Whereas it's probably just muted and subtle and combining with the other flavors in the beer itself. Winter lager is a long-time favorite of mine. Right now, I'm feeling like I gotta hit it with a 4 out of 5. It's not quite blowing me away, making me go wow, but it is just a comfortable old friend that I look forward to seeing at least 3 months out of the year. Delicious, always a winner. Love this beer. So I'm going to finish it up, probably quicker than I should because it's disappearing pretty fast already. And we're going to move on to Old Fezziwig. More on that in a minute. Alright, here we are. Old Fezziwig. He's back again this year. It says spicy and bold. Ale brewed with cinnamon, ginger, and orange peel. It's funny. Those are the same ingredients in the winter lager, except this is an ale versus a lager. But somehow the way they combine them just tastes completely different. Old Fezziwig is a unique taste that I haven't found in any other beer. Now, A regular viewer did say, I'm sorry guys, I can't remember if it was Steve or TJ, it was one of the two of you. I'll clarify that before I pull the actual video. Did say that there's a Sierra Nevada beer in their winter pack this year that reminded them of Old Fezziwig. So I'm going to be putting the two head to head in a later video. We'll talk more about that when that comes up. I'm going to try and keep this segment short because Old Fezziwig is just, man, I wish they'd put this in a 6-pack. I would stock up on this stuff and grab it and drink it year-round. It's just got a unique flavor that I haven't found anywhere else. And if that Wintertide Ale is anything from Sierra Nevada, is anything like this, then at least I'll have two sources of the beer. But either one, you have to buy the full holiday or winter, assortment to get just a couple of these guys. I wish it would come out in a 6-pack because I love this beer. And it's funny that nothing really comes through in the aroma, but look at that. That is actually darker than the winter lager. Less effervescent. I put less of a head on this one, so we're seeing a common theme here. So I think I've got these guys lined up correctly so far for the first 4 at least. These last 2, a little tricky, but like I said, I think I'm going to keep the Oatmeal Stout before the Chocolate Bach. I'm getting ahead of myself. There it is. There it is. It's, I don't know, it's almost reminiscent of an old style cola or root beer. Other parts of the country don't see what we call Moxie here in Maine. I think it's available in a couple of places outside in New England, but nobody really carries it because nobody likes it. But it's got this weird aroma and flavor. It's reminiscent of those old-timey colas and the and root beers, maybe birch beers. But I mean, there's none of those components in the actual brew. It's it's an ale brewed with cinnamon, ginger, and orange peel. There's no cola nut or anything like that. But somehow the combination of those spices is slightly reminiscent of those old style colas and root beers. It's just a unique flavor, and it's hard to describe. I think the closest I can come to describing is what I just said. I mean, otherwise just a nice medium heavy mouthfeel, about the same as the winter lager. It's got that unique flavor in the finish. It's got that same warming sensation. It's just a great all-around winter beer. Perfect for the holidays. That's Old Fezziwig, you know, the crazy motherfucker who worked with Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge. That's who Fezziwig was, right? His business partner, I think. Anyway. No, Fezziwig was another character from that. Anyway, yeah, Marley was the old business partner. I can't remember who the hell Fezziwig was. But he was a crazy bastard and a unique person. Which is perfect, because this is a unique beer. For me, Fezziwig's always a good 5 out of 5. It's so good, so unique, so different. And I think the exclusivity of only being able to get it a few months out of the year and having to buy the assortment pack in order to get it makes it even more unique and rare for me. Whew, pardon. Because to be honest, as much as I like it, I'm probably not buying another holiday 12 or another winter 12-pack just to get 2 of these beers. I'd love to have the 6-pack. Like I said, I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet, but I keep harping on that same point. Nothing wrong with anything in this pack so far, and I'm pretty sure the Oatmeal Stout and the Chocolate Bach are going to be great too. I've had them in the past, and they've never disappointed, but with so many other great winter beers out there, I'm not going to keep buying this over and over and over again just to get those 2 Old Fezziwigs. The rest of the beers are great, but this is the one I want somewhere else. delicious. 5 out of 5. I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to shut up about it now because I've talked enough about it. And I'm going to move on to the Oatmeal Stout. Alright, quick note. Got to give credit where credit's due. It was TJ who mentioned the Old Fezziwig being very similar to Sierra Nevada's Holiday... shoot. One of their holiday beers in there. There's four beer variety 12-pack for winter this year. So I wanted to say Holiday Tide, but that doesn't sound quite right. Anyway, TJ, thanks for the heads up on that. Like I said, I'm saving one of each out, and I'll be doing a comparison video in the future. But next up in the Sam Adams pack is the Oatmeal Stout. Now, I'm not sure this was always released as a winter beer. I think the Oatmeal Stout has seen a couple of different iterations from them. But I am putting it ahead of the Chocolate Bock, even though the Oatmeal Stout does have a higher IBU count at 25. And I believe the Chocolate Bock is actually a slightly lighter beer, but if I remember correctly, the chocolatey, roasty flavors of the Bach are going to be more overpowering to the palate than the Oatmeal Stout is. Just for the record, anytime I do these variety pack beer comparisons, I'm always cleansing with water in between each beer off camera. And there are times that I do multiple beer reviews in one night other than the variety packs, and every time I do those I am cleansing with water in between. At least 4 ounces, maybe sometimes 6 or 8, you know, just gotta suck down the water anyway to stay hydrated, so might as well cleanse the palate while we're at it. Plus it's more fair when it comes to the beer. I'm not always that thorough at beer fests, though. Usually the cleansing with water at the beer fests goes right out the window because you want to get more beer in. That is the darkest beer so far. So far I've lined them up correctly in terms of darkness and heaviness. You cannot see through that beer. All I can see is my reflection in it. It is not very effervescent. There's no bubbles that I can see coming up through, but that might be because the beer is so thick, but also I can see that the head is not replenishing itself. Didn't get a really good head on that. That smells nice and roasty. Maybe some slightly sweet notes coming through, but nothing much. Nice heavy mouthfeel beer. Roasted. Roasted and heavy. Some slightly burnt notes in the finish, coupled with a hint of coffee. Just a hint, though. All in all, a very robust stout. Most oatmeal stouts tend to have some really heavy body to them. It's good. It's well-rounded. There's nothing that's really jumping out for me, though, in terms of character or anything that distinguishes this from other oatmeal stouts, other than the fact that it's just smooth, easy to drink, and good. So I'm going to have to hit this with a 3.5 out of 5, meaning that it's an above-average beer, but it's not quite blowing me away. It's just a really well put together oatmeal stout and nothing more or less. Which puts it slightly above average for me because I'm a big fan of stouts. Nice, heavy, winter, roasty stouts score extra points with me. So, very good beer. Not quite mind-blowing or earth-shattering, but a bit better than average. I'm going to finish this one up, and we're going to move on to the Chocolate Bock, the 6th and final beer in the pack. Alright, 6th and final beer in the Sam Adams Winter Classics. This is the Chocolate Bock. We've seen it before, and I hope we'll see it again. I'm pretty sure we've seen it as a cherry chocolate bock and possibly a coffee chocolate bock, although I might be thinking of the Black and Brew, which I think was actually a stout or a porter. But this might actually be out of sequence. It is a little lighter than the Oatmeal Stout, not by much. But you can tell that that's more of a brown beer than the Midnight Black that the Oatmeal Stout was. Slightly more effervescent. And definitely less hoppy. It did have, the 11 IBUs versus, I think, 20-something in the Oatmeal Stout. But like I said, if I remember right, the Chocolate Bock has heavier chocolate notes that make it a more distinct and overpowering flavor than the Oatmeal Stout. So I'm pretty sure I've got these lined up right. And I'm getting some heavy, heavy chocolate aroma. Maybe some slightly roasty malt character, but overwhelmingly some chocolate in the aroma. See, up front, I'm getting this slightly, it's only 5.8% ABV, but I'm getting this slightly, very, very slightly boozy sourness. It's very subtle. Almost non-existent, but it's just enough there that I notice it. As it rolls off the tongue, though, that fades very quickly to a nice roasty character. It's got a heavy mouthfeel, and then there's a lot of chocolate coming through in the finish. A lot of chocolate. Just this slightly boozy sourness up front, which, again, I'm not sure where that's coming from because it's only 5.8% ABV. But I'm getting that flavor this time around with it. Followed by some really roasted, toasty notes, and then this finish that's all chocolate. I almost wonder if I should have put the Oatmeal Stout after this. That might be what's giving me the booziness, because the Oatmeal Stout comes in 5.5%, so it shouldn't be making this one any more boozy by comparison. I mean, I don't know where that's coming from. And again, with the cleansing with water in between, and the fact that none of these are a really heavy ABV beer, I'm not sure where that booziness is coming from, but it's still there. I mean, it's fading as I drink this. It's almost not even there anymore, but it is still slightly there. And then again, like I said, it gives way very quickly to this nice roasty character and a heavy malt, heavy roasted malt, toasty, woody, burnt almost, and then all chocolate in the finish. Then you can hit this one with a 4 out of 5. It's more than slightly above average. It's a pretty damn good beer, but nothing about it is really blowing me away right now. And I think it's actually losing points for that slightly unpleasant booziness up front. Which again, based on the fact that none of these beers are that heavy, and I've been cleansing with water in between, I can't explain where I'm getting that impression from. but it's still there and it's still detracting overall from the beer for me. So that's just what I think about these 6. Let me know down in the comments and the email link down below there what you think. If you have any opinions, whether they agree or disagree with mine, love to hear from you. I'm going to go check the taste notes that you left for me, TJ, and compare them to what I got. See how they compare up and check that out. And Steve, I think you might have left a couple of notes about these beers as well. See, just like before, I got to go back and look at the comments because memory's getting a little fuzzy after 6 beers, and it wasn't that good to begin with. So, thanks for the feedback, folks. Anytime anybody wants to talk about the beers, comment on them. I do pay attention, whether I remember 100% or not. In the moment, I will remember, and I'll talk to you about them. But I think I'm just digging myself into the hole the more I talk about that. But yeah, hit me up down in the comments, the email link down below. Let me know what you think about the beers. While you're down there, make sure to like the video, share it with your friends by clicking on share, post it to Facebook, wherever. I don't mind. I love the attention. And make sure to subscribe so you get a notification every time I post a new video. Till next time, folks, thanks for tuning in. Cheers. And happy holidays.